All right, guys, welcome to our last task group meeting on the closure phase. I thought we could maybe start by talking a little bit about our MSSA experience last week. So I know we all attended it, and I want to hear kind of what your guys' thoughts were.
Yeah, definitely. I thought it was really cool with all the different agencies that they have over there talking about what kind of services they provide to their clients. I know there are so many different booths with a lot of different flyers and brochures that we were able to get, and also just with the educational sessions too that were offered because there was motivational interviewing. There was a session going over housing and how we can help out the homeless population with getting obtainable housing. And then there's also one that focuses on homeless veterans too, which I thought was pretty interesting, and how they're talking about the SOAR program and that can help veterans get SSI and then SSDI as well. But yeah, it was very educational, and it was awesome seeing all the different people there. Just a great way to do some social networking.
Yeah, I kind of agreed with you. Just a few things I'm gonna add to that is that I attended about 4 sessions and they were pretty cool. Uh, one of which was the 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 suicidal. I attended the one with you on
Motivational
yeah
interviewing.
yeah, and I attended one with Betty, which is refugee services, and I learned a lot, like a lot. And the one that was most touching and that was most significant to my life because I've had stories about suicidal clients so who had suicidal ideations and all of that is the one that has to do with the suicidal because the person who gave the who chaired the session brought out the statistics about the number of people who commit suicide in Minnesota, and she broke it down so county by county. She segmented everything, and it was really fascinating because that's a lot of work must have gone into that, and particularly she shared the story of her own child who committed suicide, which is very, very traumatic and depressing. And not only that, it happened that the same day she shared the session was this it was the anniversary of the child. I mean, that was a blow. So, but to cap it up, it was a success. And I've never seen that large crowd before in my entire life. I've been attending conferences, so I really enjoyed it. I look forward to it next year.
Well, piggybacking off of suicide prevention, um, I attended that one too, and I thought it was really cool that, like, even though she talked about her own experience and all of that, she brought it to like a macro level. Like what can we do? Like how can we, try and decline the numbers, and talk about um, like bringing the mental health into the schools and making sure that people are understanding that it's okay to get help, and what can we do to make sure that they understand this. So like I said, making sure that like it's being talked about in the school, and about like the effects of suicide and what it is, and like that kind of stuff in a way that also doesn't try and like make the kids think like, oh, if I do this then I'm going to get attention, which I mean was one of the topics that she talked about. um, but yeah, I also attended a trauma and addiction one seminar, which was really informative. I did one on like child pornography and like a rapist, um, and then one on anxiety. So I thought it was like a really good collection of like a lot of different aspects of social work and areas that we would run into and might experience. Um, so good. I'm glad that we all had a good experience, and that we're looking forward to the next time. Hopefully next year we can go again. Um, as like their topics change, and there's always a lot more information that's brought to the table. But today we get to talk about the closure phase. I know, Paxton, you talked about the warm-up phase, and then Sylvia, you talked about the action phase. So now we're going to close it up with the closure phase. So today we're going to talk about obviously what the closure phase is, some challenges that might happen. We're going to talk about the closure themes and how we can use the closure themes in our practicum sites. And then talking about, kind of how we can end a task group meeting and like how important the facilitator's role is and how we can incorporate it into our practicum site. And then we'll kind of talk about our overall experience at the end and what we've gotten out of it, and then our expression of appreciation for each other. So to start, I wanted us to brainstorm kind of why the closure phase is so critical and so important. I know that, like, for me, it's really important that, like, it's so important for members to be able to come together and make sure that, they're understanding what they're learning, and that the others are understanding as well, and that they're all on the same page, and that they can develop a plan for the next time that they are going to meet together.
Yeah, definitely. It offers an opportunity for a lot of reflection as well, because once you're in the closure phase, you can talk about how the task group was and what the group members can reflect on about that, and on how they learned from their experiences in that task group, what they can incorporate in maybe future task groups if they're a part of, or even if they're facilitating them. And they could always provide recommendations for how a good group should work. And it's also a time where you can address like any conflicts and how they fix those conflicts too in the closure phase. So that's one thing that I think what makes it critical. I'm just kind of like thinking about the closure phase and task groups.
Yeah, to just add up to that, the closure phase is very, very significant in analyzing the achievement of the task group, because without the closure phase, there's nothing tangible you can draw out from any task group. Therefore, the closure stage or the closure phase is that point of a task group whereby you have reflections on what are the goals, what are the objectives you were able to draw out in the task group. And the closure phase also wraps up everything. It gives like a summary of what has been done in all the other two phases, and it now gives like an embodiment of what is expected and what the tangible thing you were able to draw out from the whole task group. And also, one other important thing about a closure phase in the task group is you have a definite goal, like this is what you are going to be doing at the end, and it's the phase whereby it determines if the task group is a success or not, because whatever has a beginning always has an end, and the end, how you end something
It's going to have an effect on how you start the next time.
Yes, it's going to have that, and it wraps up how what you were able to achieve as a general goal. Yeah, so thank you for sharing this closure phase with us, because it's something that I'm sure I'm gonna learn a lot from it.
Yeah, thank you.
So now that we kind of like understand how the closure phase is so important to the whole task group experience, what kind of challenges might arise for during the closure phase for members and facilitators?
Yeah, so some challenges that I thought of was just trying to find the time to do some reflection on the task group itself. Just because when you're facilitating these meetings, it can be a challenge to try to find this extra time just to do some personal reflection, and then how our experiences with the task group can be used in our future maybe times when we're trying to accomplish a task. So I think that's definitely something that's important. And then also with some challenges, sometimes the closure phase or the ending meetings can be, I guess, a little lengthy, and the time might not be specific. So let's say if members start checking out after a certain amount of time, so they might get exhausted. So they might lose some of that information and just not absorb everything. So, and then that could be a challenge for the leader, just because they definitely need to make it an engaging closure phase for the group members. So
yeah, I know. Like another challenge that could happen too is, if they're not having that specific allotted time, people are, like you said, they get disengaged because they're not expecting it to go as long as it is. But when they do have that expected time, like sometimes if it's a short So
Yeah.
is it continuing or?
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll just pick up where we left off before that technical glitch. I was talking about some of the sort of challenges that could happen during the closure phase, and I was talking about how sometimes members have to leave early or sometimes they arrive late, but specifically for the closure phase, those members that leave late or leave early, they are not always getting that closure piece that they need so that they can understand what happened during the meeting and that they receive the correct information. The facilitator knows that they understood it and, what's their part, what are they supposed to do next time. So I know that can be a huge barrier in the success of the closure phase if that's not addressed properly. So is there anything that you wanted to add, Silva, to that?
Not so well. You guys have said it all, but I also want to include that the closure phase, one of the barriers to ending a closure phase in a successful way can be conflict, which I earlier mentioned in the previous video. Conflict, I mean, usually occurs. It might not be, I mean, it could be conflict about issues about how to resolve or how to come to a compromise or the goals. It might be conflict about the goals, but definitely, like I said, also, in a task group, we have a number of people. Let's assume we're a task group of 10. One person or the other might not be able to come to terms with the decision of the leadership. So there might be that conflict, of interest. So that might be a cog of wheel to the success of the closure of phase in a task group. And the conflicts can bring a lot, can bring about a lot of disorientation of the task group as a whole if we don't have a good leadership, or if we don't have an understanding members in the task group. So it's oftentimes we see conflicts arise in task group. The understanding of how to resolve it is very important too.
And that brings us to our next question to ponder. Is this, what kind of effects can these challenges have? Like Silva said, like it could cause conflict if an individual doesn't know what they're supposed to be doing. The next time they show up, that could be that missing piece of the goal that needed to be accomplished in order for them to move forward. Or even just understanding in general, like who's supposed to do what. That can be a barrier too of an effect on the challenges. And then how can we resolve these? Like, what are some ways in which we can,
I guess like fix these challenges overall. I guess with just having the leader recognize some of these conflicts among a task group, it gives the leader an opportunity to fix them as soon as they can. Because if they see a conflict, they really don't want that lasting throughout the rest of the group, and also it can lead into the future groups that these members might be a part of. So if the facilitator can at least get involved as soon as they can and fix these conflicts, it's going to be something that's going to be very beneficial to the group members overall into helping resolve these challenges and barriers.
And like I said before, like addressing if a member has to leave early, and making sure that you're setting aside some time and adding that to the agenda. That okay, at this point, we're going to check in and do a mini closure phase with that member.
Yeah, that's for sure, because especially if they leave early too, they're going to lose on some of the content too that's going to be covered with those meetings. So it can definitely affect that aspect, and just with the process of it overall, it's going to be like a rough process because they're going to be missing pieces of that.
Which brings us into the next thought. What kind of effect can these challenges have on the content and the process of like the whole group unit? I know that I have noted that it can affect like the overall balance of the group and of the, if we are looking at the graph of content and process, it makes it become off balance. Especially if those people are not understanding and they're not getting that time for reflection. They're going to leave without understanding like what happened, how it happened, what worked and what didn't work, and what are those next steps. What are your guys' thoughts on its effect on content and process?
Kind of like what you mentioned too, it's going to leave the group kind of confused because they're going to miss out on specific important aspects of that group. So, and then it can throw off the chart too. So it's never going to be even if there's going to be some missing pieces outside of that content that they're missing if they do leave early, and which is definitely not beneficial for the group. So.
Right.
Yeah. So, in addition to this, when we talk about the content and the process in the task group, we talk about it in the and how it affects the closure phase. I want to I want to approach it from the lens of maybe, let me say, my internship. Yeah, a generalist perspective. If there's a challenge in a task group or in the closure phase, one way that it can affect the content and the process is that at the end of the day, the whole essence of the task group might not be achievable. So in other words, there might be a waste of time. Also, uh, it takes longer time. It takes longer duration to reach a consensus, because if there's an agreement in this group, in this starch group, things are kind of rapid. But when it's kind of disjointed, like some people are not in agreement, some people are having issues with the group, you keep going to, I mean, it's kind of repetitive way of trying to solve the problem instead of focusing on the agenda. So there are two things you're going to be dealing with. You'll be dealing with the challenge in the task group, and you're going to be dealing with the agenda as well. So it might take you a longer time, or it takes a task group a longer time to get to derive meaning out of the task group. So for example, if we're in a task group and we have a goal of maybe visiting Washington, D.C., maybe we want to go meet with some people at the parliament, and some other group members are saying, no, we don't want to choose this particular date. I mean, we're kind of going to be deliberating on the date instead of just choosing a particular date and forging ahead. So it's one of those things that draws a task group backward instead of making it progress. So that way it's going to affect the content, which is the agenda. So there will not be a concentration on the agenda anymore because there's a challenge, and the process is going to be longer, which means it might be longer or it might never be effective at all. It might crumble.
Yeah. Definitely. So then that kind of brings us to the next question is, what kind of challenges have you experienced during the closure phase of a task group or in your practicum?
Yeah. I know a few challenges that I've seen over at my agency was usually when we have our staff meetings every Thursday. So when we have our staff meetings, they can be anywhere from an hour and a half to 2 hours long. So we will cover the updates needed on in the facility, and then we'll also cover some updates on the clients. Usually we don't take any breaks in between those, just because of the budget. So we don't want to go over hours or anything such as that. But what I've noticed from some of the people who go to those meetings, they might get kind of tired after the first hour, and then they'll kind of just fade out, I guess, or they're not going to be absorbing. Yeah, they won't absorb all that information that they should. So that's one thing I noticed. It can definitely be a challenge over my agency, and then also with thinking about the group encounters too that we have with some of the clients. Some of the similar situations happen. So let's say if we're watching a movie on the benefits of healthy sleeping, or the benefits of just like reducing stress, learning independent coping skills. This is something that's good for the clients, but some of them might be sleeping during the encounter or during the group meeting, so they're not going to be taking in that information that they need to kind of help them live independently in the community. So this can definitely be a challenge that we see in our agency. So it's something that the facilitator should definitely look into next.
You're very right.
I know at my practicum, I see a huge issue with like distribution of tasks. Usually our meetings are really quick, and they're oftentimes it's not a closure phase at all. So at the end, someone will be like, okay, this person does this person does this, but like it's so quick and so like disorganized that people aren't really paying attention to it. So I know oftentimes we'll go back to my supervisor's office and she'll be like, okay, so wait, what was I supposed to do, or who was supposed to do what? And a lot of times it's not even communicated across after the fact, and people are emailing like, oh, did you get this part done? And like, oh no, I thought that you were doing that part. Well, I thought that this person was doing this part. And so it just becomes a whole bigger mess because of that one little thing, not distributing tasks at the end of their meetings.
I'm going to also add this because this is a situation to our practicum. One thing that I can deduce from how these challenges affect my practicum might be time management. not being conscious of time. So because I believe if you're in a task group and you have this agenda that this task group is going to take just 2 hours, you should work within that time limit, because most times if you don't do that, I mean, you see people just feeling unease, like, okay, they want to leave right now, which is one thing that happens in my internship when we are in a task group and we already have the agenda. Usually we have it every Monday at from 10 to noon. And if it's some few minutes after noon, then you start seeing reaction from people. And one thing that can lead to is not getting anything tangible at the tail end of the task group, because at that point, physiologically, you are no longer present in that task group. Your mind is out, your mind is off. So whatever happens, whatever is being said at the tail end of the task group, you don't pay attention to it, so you don't get anything. And the closure phase is very important. Anything being said at the closure phase is very important. So if you're that person that you don't get anything out, well, you won't put the blame on yourself. I rather put the blame on the leadership, because we have it on agenda and we have the task. Okay, at this so time we start and finish at this time. So I want to talk about, I mean, just to re-emphasize on time management when it comes to task group. We should always try and work with time, because this is not a leadership thing alone. It has to do with membership too. But I can understand from another angle that, I mean, during the meeting, you might have some issues that you want to talk about. You might, try to extend your conversation more. But notwithstanding, if you're going to shoot beyond the number, the minutes you want to allocate to the task group, you shouldn't make it so ambiguous. You shouldn't go beyond 5 minutes max. So it's one thing people usually are conscious of. Besides, this is a country whereby time counts a lot. Every second counts. So you don't want to mess up with anybody's time, because it's very important too.
Definitely. I know we kind of touched a little bit on how we can resolve some of these issues. We talked about making sure that we're setting aside some time for the closure phase, and making sure that, if there are people who are leaving early, that we also address that and make sure that they're getting their closure. And the facilitator is also getting their closure from what that member brings to the table. Making sure that they're getting that feedback that they need. Is there anything else that I forgot that you wanted to touch on about how we can maybe resolve some of these challenges that happen?
I guess one thing that I think of is just providing an atmosphere where all the members of the group feel open to talking about whatever is on their mind.
Oh, yeah,
because I know that's one thing that I think of with that. Just because if you provide that atmosphere, then it's going to make the members feel comfortable and be like, okay, this is a pretty good closure. It's a great opportunity to bring up what I benefited from the task group, and let's just do some awesome reflection, I guess, during those times. And then just with the facilitator, also just engaging with all the members. So let's say if I was a facilitator and then I was asking you questions on what your thoughts are. I think that's one way to resolve some of the challenges of, let's say, members getting disengaged in the meeting. So, but yeah, so that's one thing I think of.
Awesome. Well, that brings us to our next section of today's meeting, is talking about some of the closure themes. So to review, in our book, they talked about a couple different themes. One being review goal accomplishment, also prepare for future activities, review impact of the group relationships on the goal accomplishments, and expression appreciation. I know the one that really stands out to me is expressing appreciation. I feel like that's so important in a group setting, in order to keep members motivated and really to keep them going, because if we're not expressing any appreciation to them, then what are they there for? It's not going to make them want to continue to work towards the goal. It's not going to make them want to be helpful in any way. It's just going to make them be more disengaged if they already are. So for me, I think that's super important. I really like that theme. What about for you guys? What do you think about the themes? And
Yeah, so the further closure theme and how it relates to the Nova House is makes me think of the clients. Since they have a certain amount of time that they need to be in the facility for their programming, it's up to 90 days. And then once they discharge, it's a good way for the staff to do some reflection. So they can review the goal accomplishment of helping the client get into the community that they need to get to, living independently. And they also express appreciation too, because during these staff meetings, they recognize on all their hard work and how they all are beneficial and impactful for the clients. And they see this by the discharging and the clients moving on, living successful lives after the programming. So that's one way I definitely see some of the closure themes working in the agency.
I like the way they itemize this in the textbook. The closure themes. Um, in my internship, I will emphasize reviewing goal accomplishments. Because we work, uh, I intern in a place where we work with refugee services. I mean, we're refugee community. We provide services like employment, immigration, citizenship, green card, housing, social benefits, and all of that. So it's more of quantitative, something tangible you can see. So usually during our tax group every Monday, we kind of review the goals that we have accomplished over the week, over the month. For example, if I am working with a client on employment, I help the client secure an employment, and then the client started the job. They kind of we kind of review the goals, the accomplishment, and this now moves next to the expressing appreciation for all of these things, because when we talk about our achievements over the week, we kind of celebrate it. Sometimes it might be a welcoming conversation, it might be applauding the person, it might be we all going out for lunch together just to celebrate what we've done so far. So I feel like uh, this theme in the closure phase is a way to motivate the leadership and motivate members in in a task group to be more hardworking, to be more collective in whatever they do, and also it's kind of an incentive that helps you to do much better, next time. Because if they review your goals and they praise you for that, you want to do something much better next time. So
oh yeah, definitely. I know at my practicum site, they do a really good job also with review of goal accomplishments and preparing for future activities. Like when we meet with our with whatever group we're meeting with, we really do take the time to review and like, okay, that we got this done and this went really well. Now let's start talking about what's the next step so that we can get this service ready for this client, or getting this kid this sensory break or whatever it might be. They do a really good job making sure that they're, taking the steps to make sure that like all the steps are being completed and that they are making sure that the goal was met before they do plan another activity. So Silva, going into expressing appreciation, which is my favorite one because I do, like I said, think it is so important. I want to know why you guys think it might be important to express appreciation to members and even like the task group as a whole.
Yeah. You want to go first?
Okay, you can go. I think I can say the pattern is like this with him. It's okay.
With expressing appreciation to the task group as a whole, I think it's beneficial because it builds a healthy environment, healthy atmosphere.
Mhm.
It makes people feel as if they are accomplishing something beneficial uh, to the group overall. So that's definitely it can have a feeling of accomplishment and success, and we can take these. I guess we can take the appreciation that we receive in the task group, and we can know that, let's say, if we are in future task groups, that we'll know we'll have a positive impact in those groups as well.
Mhm.
So it can kind of be like a chain effect as well. But yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
What do you think, Silva?
I wanted to go first, so you said kind of a lot of things I wanted to say, but it's okay. Um, it helps to, you know, really unhealthy atmosphere. It also helps in, giving motivation to the members because if you express as appreciation, if it's in gifts, if it's in like something tangible, if it's in words, like sending an email of how much you appreciate the work of this person in his stash group. I think it's healthy enough for the person to know that next time you want to keep getting something, I mean, good, positive comments this way. So generally, I think not only is it good for the leadership to appreciate the members, I think it's also good vice versa, whereby the members should also appreciate the leadership for doing something like coordinating us this far and helping us build ourselves to this point. It helps the leadership to also feel like, oh, okay, I'm not being left out of this. I'm being significant, and they appreciate the work I'm doing. So it's not like, oh, the whole work or the burden is just on the leadership, and nobody wants to give credit to the leadership, just to the members. So it helps. It really boosts the work and the achievements of a task group. Not only that, it helps them to be more effective and to be more um, knitted together, whereby they don't you hardly find barriers, you hardly find misunderstanding, if at all. Those things are solved just immediately because they are corded together. They kind of work as a team, which is what the touch group is all about, though. So doing I mean, expressing appreciation is kind of a form of an incentive to me. Like I said, it could be verbatim expressing, it could be in form of gift, it could be in form of writing letters, and just celebrating yourself is one of those things that we should also do. We shouldn't get too worked out about studies. We should always just come together as a tax group to celebrate ourselves. Yeah.
I also think it's important to help raise like the self-esteem of members, like I said before, if you're appreciative, it's only going to motivate you to continue to do more, and to continue with the group instead of just burn out and want to leave. So I think that that's really important. But how have you expressed appreciation to members in a task group that maybe you have been a part of, whether it's at your practicum or maybe even in a different setting?
So I guess in a different setting, the old university I went to, I was the president of the Criminal Justice Club, and so one way I would have, I guess, express appreciation to the members of the club is by maybe providing a pizza party or something at the end of the semester. And I think this was a great way, just because the club members know that I do care about, um, I guess, their participation in the club. And then I also always let it open for discussion on what they want the club to be a part of. I know, for example, I asked the club what they want to do, and they said go to prison. So we ended up going to prison for a jail tour, or for a prison tour, I mean. So just kind of like showing the club members that I want to do what they want to do. is a great way to kind of express appreciation for the club overall. So, and then it's definitely a great way for them to realize and how they can express appreciation for what other members of the group want to do, just because it's pretty much all about them, which is good.
Mm-hmm. I know, actually, piggybacking off of that, when I was the president or the co-president of the psychology club at my undergrad university, we would do similar things. If we did a fundraising event, we'd usually try and express our appreciation for those by giving them verbal feedback and, really, saying thank you to them. But even for those who raised so much or like were the top fundraiser, like we tried to give them something extra, like thank you for putting in over the top efforts to be able to, provide some funds for our club. And we usually give them, whether it was part of whatever we were fundraising, we gave them a little something, or maybe it was like a gift card or something to somewhere, just so that they know. And then it kind of gave other members incentive to, oh, hey, if I raise this, then I could get this for the next time that it came around, which was helpful. What about for you, Silva?
Well, first, I don't like to be given any gifts as an appreciation. I rather just like words because I feel obligated to the person. If I get gift from the person and I feel like, oh, I help this person also, and that might kind of restrict me from being able to be, I mean, being able to be straight with the person. So it's a good idea. I give gifts to people to show appreciation. I give gifts and I kind of use my words in expressing how much I appreciate those effort of people in a group, in a task group. But personally, I don't like gifts. I mean, I kind of turn down gifts a lot. I mean, I think I kind of grew up that way. So, I mean, but that's when I'm staying in a task group. I get gifts from outside task group.
No, that's good. That's good to know too. So, for us, if we were to be in a task group with you at another point, we know that that's how you like to get your feedback, is not gift giving, or a type of tangible incentive, which actually brings us to our next question is, how would you like to be told or shown appreciation in a task group setting? So like think about past experiences, like we have said before, and how you'd like to be appreciated based off of, the efforts that you put in. I know for me, I like to be told like in the group, and then people can sort of piggyback and like, reaffirm that, yes, what I was doing was, really beneficial and that they really appreciated it. Otherwise, I like to get it in writing too. Like at my job that I'm at, we have a kudos system where we're able to, because it's such a fast-paced, moving type of environment, giving people feedback is not always ideal. So we're able to just write it down on a piece of paper form and, say thank you for doing this for me, or, you did a really good job doing this with this kiddo and stuff like that. So I feel like that those are nice to get to, or even like an email after, like, I know that I showed my appreciation, but here's why I showed my appreciation. I really think you're doing a good job. Keep up the good work, types of things. So what about you guys?
With me, it's kind of similar to you. I know at my agency, we do these peer nominations. So we get pieces of paper, write something nice from one of the staff that they've done either for the clients or for another staff. And we put it in this fishbowl. And at the end of the month, we'll draw one of the pieces of paper out, and then we'll read it, and then they'll be the staff employee for the month. So it's a great way to kind of show their appreciation because there's a whole bunch of nice sayings about that person. So they have the picture on the wall with all those sayings, and it's definitely a great way to just build up a positive atmosphere, and just to know that those employees who are having nice things said about them are definitely making a positive impact in the agency. And then so definitely builds a great environment overall, and that's one way I see appreciation shown. And then also with another thing too, with let's say if the facilitator were to be in a meeting and let's say if they were to ask one of the staff members on their opinion about something, it's great having the members feel engaged and just knowing that they're appreciated by the facilitator, just kind of curious about what they have to say in the group overall. So I thought this was another good way.
What about you, Sona? How do you like to be shown appreciation? You said that you don't like gifts, so where?
Just words. And I mean, I get that a lot every week from my internship. Yeah. So.
Is it going to be verbal or written?
Yeah, I mean, it could be reading. Like I said, I don't mind if it's reading. I kind of keep it. I'll archive it. Words, written words touch me a lot.
Yeah, and it almost gives you motivation, like to keep going.
Yeah.
If you're starting to feel burned out, you can go back and read that email that you got that says that you're doing a good job, just to reaffirm, like, okay, like I gotta keep going. I got more to do. Good. So next, I'd like to talk about kind of like in what ways did a task group. I know in the book it kind of gave a couple examples of different ways. For me, definitely I have done rounds, which is kind of, I mean, what we're doing now and what we're going to do at the end in our closure phase. It kind of gives a person an opportunity to express their ideas and their thoughts and concerns and their understanding and talk about the whole experience, for themselves. And some people talk about the same things. Some people might say something different. There might be a prompt. There might not be a prompt. I know it's a good way to give every member an opportunity to say something.
Yeah, and so my answer is kind of similar to that, just to give the members of the group an opportunity to reflect on what they have learned, and then also just for another opportunity to just kind of understand and what they can do in the future, to reflect on, I guess, for the task. So definitely a great way to kind of end task group meetings, just for a good way to kind of find those key aspects of what they learned from that task.
Yeah, I like that. What about you, Silva?
Not that from what you guys just said. I mean, just literally just the same way.
Yeah, I feel like there's not a ton of different ways to end a meeting, but I know some people kind of just have their own, like, this is how I want to do it. And I feel like in our past experience with our past meetings, that's kind of how we've done it. We've done it more of like the round style.
Yeah.
So thinking about like what about the facilitator and the importance of the facilitator in a task group, what do you think the role of the facilitator is, and like the importance of them?
I think with a facilitator, they're definitely there to kind of help lead the discussion, and then they're also there to address any conflicts that have happened before. And when they see those conflicts, they can address them as soon as they can, so they don't further continue through the task group. So I think that's one good role for the facilitator, and also just being a positive influence on the members too, because the member will see them being as a positive influence, and this can kind of shed the positivity on the group itself, and it would just provide a great atmosphere. So
yeah. So also I'll go on my one of the purpose of a facilitator in the task group is to not to just act like the leader, but also be observant. The facilitator has to be very sensitive. For example, notice or pay attention to people who are not contributing in the task group. It has to also contribute. It has to be sensitive culturally. Not to be biased and all of that, because these are things that can cause conflict in a task group. So a facilitator has to also be very friendly, and should also encourage good communication within a group, because in some task group you'll find a lot of people don't want to talk because they feel like the facilitator is kind of bossy. I'm just kind of a person. If I'm facilitating, I just want to be. I might be the facilitator, but you hardly differentiate between myself and a member. So that helps a lot to blend and bring people down to your level. Don't feel like, oh, I'm the fast leader and I feel like I have power over everything. So that way you kind of bring people closer to you. People will be able to share their thoughts and mind with you also. So and that's what I've been happening in my practicum, because my supervisor, she's very, very nice, and you hardly know if she's the facilitator in the task group or not.
Well, I know like it's really important in the closure phase for the facilitator to make sure that they're making sure that their members are understanding what's going on, and making sure that like they're able to comprehend what they have talked about in the group so that they can apply it outside of the group when they're not together, whether they're working on their task for the next meeting or, you know, even a different type of situation. I also wrote down in here that the facilitator helps members to review and assess their work, so that they know how they can plan for the next time, and making sure that that the relationships are, you know, checking in. Are these relationships that the members are having together, are they hindering the goal or are they helping the goal, and kind of addressing that in the closure phase to make sure everyone's on the same page. And then also expressing appreciation and regrets through the meeting. You know, I know we didn't get to this part, but I wish that we could talk, but next time let's talk about this. But like I said, my most important thing that I really have gotten out of this is expressing appreciation for your members, because if you don't do that, then you're not going to have a successful group at all. I know we kind of talked about before too what kind of issues might affect the facilitator during the closure phase, like people leaving early, people not speaking up, and also even people not speaking up during the appreciation time. Like it doesn't always have to be the facilitator that's giving the appreciation, it can be other members too. So that brings us to our closure phase, and I want to ask, like, what kind of outcomes have resulted from our task group experience as a whole together? You know, we've been together for 3 meetings now, and what have you guys gotten out of this whole experience?
So from our previous meetings with going over the warm-up phase, action phase, and today, it just makes me realize in how much of a task group is a positive impact in what we can accomplish in the future. So let's say if we want to be a part of different meetings and different organizations, we could feel comfortable with providing open ideas for how we can make a positive change, I guess, in the world or in society overall, if we're focusing on a big project. So, and then, yeah, so just kind of providing a good atmosphere overall with the task group.
It also helped me to be sensitive, because each week I happen to be in the task group, so it helps me to remain focused. It helps me to know what to do part time. That in this task group, I'm supposed to do this, I'm supposed to do that, I'm supposed to be sensitive, I'm supposed to pay attention, I'm supposed to, watch my colleagues back, I'm supposed to be in good communication with every other person. So it has really developed me the more with interacting with people, being culturally responsive, and a lot of ways it has been able to give me the privilege to also facilitate in some task group outside the classroom.
I know I've definitely taken a lot from this experience, understanding how the whole tasking process works as a whole has encouraged me to like be more aware when I'm involved, because you know a lot of the times, as I've noticed, like learning more, that I have been involved in task groups that weren't labeled a task group and I didn't know that. So knowing the different, phases of them and how important they are, each one in itself for the whole entire experience, it really has like encouraged me to focus on each part as a whole and making sure that we're reaching them. And I've also learned like how to do some things, like what's important, doing the action phase and what's important during the warm up phase and what's important during the closure phase, and making sure that I am hitting that part of it. And I think that this experience working with you guys and being together, we didn't really have much conflict at all. I mean, not until this afternoon, I guess you could say.
Oh, with the technical difficulties.
Yes,
Yep.
with our technical difficulties, but you know, it was something that we were able to work out, and we saw how important it was, because we have this goal of getting this video finished and done and turned in, and here we are. So that leaves me with my expression of appreciation for you guys. So I want to thank you for the experience and for being actively involved today and giving your input. I really do appreciate all that I have learned from you guys throughout the whole process as a whole.
Thank you so much. Let me put that in writing.
Okay, I'll send it to you an email.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
All right, it's nice. I mean, it's a nice task group. It was a success, you know.
Yep, definitely very powerful and impactful. So good for the
Definitely.
future.
Yes, thank you.